Hi, Rabbi.
How you doing? I like your shorts. Your how you say shorts? Yeah.
I've just played just played a game of racquetball.
Rugby?
Racquetball.
Racket. Yes. You play racket. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Yes. What
Yeah.
about you? You look well.
Yeah. Better. I love the sun.
Yes. No, you were in a bit of a state on Shabbos.
Yeah. Yeah. With the whole hay fever, like went up last week really high, and now it's much
Yes.
better. Now it's better. Yeah.
Right. Well, it's good to see you. And how are the boys and girls?
Baruch Hashem. Very good. Yeah. Hope to get a vacation soon, but.
What do you think of that question?
I think, let me just remind myself, I saw it this morning. What was it about?
About singing and playing instruments, because we used to use any time in the shul, any service, because we used to use it in the temple. That's I haven't got a view on it. I haven't got any. But if you don't like it, don't worry. It's just sort of an idea.
I don't like it. Nothing personal. Yeah, I think it's not a question that people. What about candles?
No, I tell you what. I tell you. Look, I accept what you say, but I tell you what I really have enjoyed as a kid is a choir in shul. I used to sing in the choir. I used to be paid for singing in the choir as a young boy, and it made shul really sort of a delightful to hear some melodies.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, come up with a better idea.
Yeah. What about candles? Maybe the significance of candles. Lionel, you good? You look good. The first time I see you out of the house on the Zoom.
Oh yes, it's lovely to be out in the air. It's terrific.
What do you say about candles, Ian? Maybe the significance about candles, or I don't know.
All right. Yes. Okay. Well, look, it's not really the question; it's the answer.
Yeah.
What have I
Stanley,
missed?
how you doing? It was good seeing you on Shabbos.
Yes, if you're talking to me. Oh, there's Stanley.
It was good to see you. Also, you, Lionel.
Yeah, and Stanley. Have you got the answer for Rie yet, Rabbi?
No. 1 minute.
Put it down again.
Why am I so? One second. Let me write it now. Write it now.
Stanley.
I know the answer.
I know. I also know the answer. Once again.
I know the answer, but it's extremely peculiar. And as I promised Stanley that you would verify it.
Tell you what I like doing is you give me the answer, and I've got to tell you what the question is.
Okay. All right.
Potato.
My best friend in the world. What's the question?
Your best friend in the world. How would you describe your rabbi?
Lovely.
Absolutely. What was the question of Machar Chodesh?
Brilliant, Ian. And
Lionel, 1 second. Lionel, regarding the question again, the Re'eh goes on. It's before Rosh Chodesh. Yeah, it's the Shabbos before.
The Re'eh is yes. The Re'eh it would normally be Machar Chodesh because Rosh Chodesh is the next. No, wait a minute. I'm just trying to remember now. You've caught me on the hop. I think Rosh Chodesh is in the evening on Motzei Shabbat. So the question is, it would normally be Machar Chodesh.
Or
Ian Patterson would be doing it, but it's
I'm doing Ekev.
Yeah, it's not.
One second, Lionel. Or what? Or what's the other option?
Machar Chodesh.
Or.
Well, it's not going to be anything else because it's not on Rosh
Chodesh.
No,
or Machar Chodesh, or what are the other?
Ordinary Haftorah for Re'eh, which is very short Haftorah. Which.
Right, Stanley. The answer is 9W. What's the question?
Stanley, are you interested in? Stanley, are you interested in this question? The question: somebody is doing Re'eh on. He's doing it on the day before, on Shabbat, before.
Okay, I send the question to the rabbis.
Right, and The question is, which Haftorah does he recite? Bearing in mind, it is at the beginning of August. No, it's not at the beginning of August. It is at the beginning of August. Trying to remember. Well, the answer is normally during the 7, whatever they are, Haftorahs of consolation, they would supersede it, but they would not supersede it on Rosh Chodesh or Macha Chodesh. But Re'eh is an exception to that exception, and you do recite Re'eh, ordinary Haftorah, on that day instead of Macha Chodesh. Isn't that complicated?
Okay. We will start now. Yes?
Stanley, you're muted, Stanley.
I'm all right now.
Do you prefer to spotlight or not spotlight? We don't have too many people here, so we'll put it on gallery. We can see each other here. Okay, so today we're going to talk about morality and the belief of Hashem. I'm going to start with a story that I've shared on WhatsApp, and then basically explain why morality has to have God in the picture. And if you don't have God in the picture, then there is no substance, there's no backbone for morality in any society. Okay, that's the theme. So the story starts like this, which I was shocked, and I don't know why other people maybe in the UK were not so shocked about it, but I don't know why it did for me. It touched the nerve, and that was a Haredi couple. You probably heard. You maybe know the details better than me. Had a baby that had a condition that, unfortunately, they said that she's determined to die. I don't know when, but to bring death, and the judges didn't want her to go to Israel and to be moved in Israel for the request of the family, and the family asked to be moved to Israel, A, because Israel is better environment for them, and B, that maybe there is a solution, some kind of a solution that will give them maybe some hope, even though it's a small percentage and most probably not. So the judge said no, it's taking them to Israel is dangerous, because of the war, whatever. Okay, we'll put that aside. But the main argument is that no, the most important part of us us judges, which is non-religious, is secular, is to make sure that the patient is feeling most comfortable, and therefore we don't want them to go into pain and to go through this, bringing them to Israel, which is going to cause some pain to them. Okay,
Rabbi, can I stop you?
Yes.
Why was a judge involved?
Well, because I think they went against the trustees, or I don't know.
No, the baby was probably in a children's hospital.
In a hospital,
Once the medical staff were responsible for the welfare, under English law, for the welfare of the child, and therefore they had to make a decision, and the parents objected to it. What was the best for the welfare of the child? Because it was under the medical. That's the circumstance.
In what country was this?
England. Manchester.
And the most
Manchester
liberal country you can think of.
I think it's been reported in the national press quite regularly as it went through the stages.
Yes, I saw it. I mean, there was no noise so much from protests or whatever.
No.
There was noise on the Haredi groups. There was a big noise about it.
Yeah, but
because here you have a religious parent that they are basically killing, if you want to say in their eyes, killing their child and not letting them decide for the welfare of the children, abducting, if you want to use that word, the decision making.
Yeah, but it was a medical decision as well, because the judge was saying you'll kill him quicker if you take him to Israel, and that's
It wasn't about.
it was all based on medical evidence. You know,
it wasn't killing quicker, but it's about making him feel uncomfortable. If you see it inside.
Okay.
I mean, yes. Again, you can judge killing quicker because of the flight.
Yeah.
That's not just a strong.
Yeah, they had to.
It's not the first time. That's not the first time that they did it. A few years ago. Sorry.
This is not the first time this has happened.
I can't hear you so strong, Stanley.
It happens regularly in Israel. Dina Malchusei is what they say. So it's an example. I'll give you several examples.
Speak up, Stanley.
Sorry,
Thank you. I want to hear it. I really want to hear what you say. That's better, probably.
Can you hear me now?
Now, yes.
It happens regularly, this in Israel, because one of the things that the Haredi don't like, they know plenty of things, is the laws of the land. Dina Malchusei, you should respect the laws of the land. If there's prolonged suffering, you relieve prolonged suffering by giving analgesics. Sometimes the analgesics are given in larger amounts than one would like to give. But it's necessary because the person is in constant pain. And they will object to that because they say they are hastening the death of the individual. It's to prevent suffering. And this is the law of the land, is to try and prevent suffering when their life is being threatened by other people.
Okay. But you can agree with me that
I agree with you, but in some ways. But the particular judgment in this case was that there will be more suffering from transporting the child to Israel, and that would jeopardize the child's life than staying in this country, in this hospital. And what they wanted to do in the hospital was turn off the life support mechanisms. And that was the life support mechanism were the oxygenation of the child and giving the nourishment.
Okay. But I have a few points I want to say to you, Stanley. First of all, regarding the Dina de Malchuta, that you should know, it's never when it's against the law of the Torah. So you can't say, Dina de Malchuta Dina, I have to eat chazarai. Dina de Malchuta Dina, we don't care. You have to kill someone, Dina de Malchuta. There is a line when it's against the Torah. That's number one, about Dina de Malchuta. Dina de Malchuta is things that, should I have an option? I have to listen to the law of the land. It's not against the Torah. Over here, we believe in Judaism, if there's 1% that you can prolong someone's life, then you have to do so.
Yes.
Even if it's going to be suffering. So if I can prolong my life with a state amount of suffering, then I have to do so. Now, it's very hard, especially in England, as you say, but it's a different topic. I want to get back to it, our topic, but it's very hard, a decision to make, especially parents, when you see your parents or grandparents, whatever it is, that are suffering on tubes and things like that. And he said, okay, let's leave him, or let's take off his life support and let's not make him suffer instead of him living for another month or 2 months or so on with that. And that decision is getting widely spread, which in Judaism were very against to take off life support, because we believe in life and we have a different value of life, where the morality of the moral pyramid in the secular world, it's all about how I feel. If I'm not conscious and I'm not feeling the best way, then I'm allowed to stop my life and so on, or stop that person's life because he's not comfortable, and we have to make him less suffer. And that is the hierarchy of a person, suffering or not suffering. But it's a very problematic act. Where do you cross the line? What is suffering? What is not suffering? And this comes back, and I just brought this as an opening, but this comes back as morality, as what is moral and what is not moral. And the problem is, it's sometimes you come into very difficult questions about morality. What is moral? What is not moral? Well, who decides what is moral? who decides what is the best for the patient. So you have a patient that says, I believe in God, and I think that if I have 1% of life, I want to go to Israel, whatever it is. And there is a judgment that says, no, we are here deciding. We think it's morality for so and so. So you have there an objective, if you want to call it, a morality system.
I'm not sure that's true exactly.
Please tell me. If
No. You're talking about.
I'm happy to hear.
I'm not so sure that the judge was good. The 1% didn't really come into it in this case, because it's as a medical opinion. I suppose they decided that it was more likely they'd die if they went to Israel than not, and that didn't come into the 1%. The 1% saving was here, not there.
If we're going to talk about this, I need a little bit more clarity.
Yeah,
Was the issue whether or not the child could go to Israel, or was the issue whether or not the kid's life support should be terminated?
Go to
I don't
Israel.
Understand.
Go to Israel.
Well, what's that?
Listen, I don't want to go specifically on this case because I'm not an expert on that case.
But it wasn't being taken off life support, was it? There was no suggestion of that.
No.
Was there a suggestion of that? No.
No, but it was a question about suffering, and the reason why they wanted them to take to Israel because they thought that maybe there's a better treatment than Israel.
Yeah.
Where in England they said no, he's determined to die, and now if he's determined to die, now it's only about question about suffering.
I don't think that's fair. I think that's fair on the judges. I may be completely wrong, but I think they were saying that he was determined to die. That he was going to die in Israel. He was more likely to die, and this is your percentage point by going to it. Am I right? Stanley? More likely to die by going to Israel than here, as well as having more suffering. And this was a medical decision, nothing to do with morality, as to the percentage chance of the child dying. And they argued it was by taking to Israel, there was a percentage chance they could do it. They said absolutely not. The greater percentage would they die if they went to Israel. That's what they were deciding, as far as I know it. Am I right, Stanley, or not?
Yes, I think that's right. There was
so I don't think you can unfairly
on that note, on that basis, I'm not arguing. But I thought differently. I saw different articles, and
yeah, but maybe you read it in the Haredi press, and of course they won't.
No, because maybe they didn't present what they were suggesting.
That's possible, and I may be wrong too, Rabbi. I can be wrong. One really needs, as Ian says, a lot of the facts here to determine the issue. But it opens the floodgates, by the way, to all sorts of types of people, not Jews, all sorts of people trying for their own particular purposes. Oh, I want to take them to the Bahamas. It'll be lovely in the Bahamas. We'll have them in the Bahamas. And they make reasons as to percentage deaths and suffering. And the judges are put in a position of having to make the decision.
Okay. Let's understood.
Yeah. I'm defending the judges and the system.
No, it wasn't the first case that it happened. I think a few years ago, there was another story about this lady that also saw they had an opportunity maybe to go to another country and maybe to have a life-saving thing.
Yes, they weren't Jewish. They weren't Jewish.
I know they were not Jewish. But the same morality. Again, I'm not saying it's anti-Semitism. I didn't get. I don't think it's
morality. I think it's medical. Anyway, come on.
No, it's that morality. It's where do we put the line? Who chooses what is moral and what is not moral? What is how life is treated, how life is looked at.
You've made a particular point of difference, which is as clear as day, from the Jewish point of view and not from the point of view of the state in England, that it is better to suffer to a certain degree and live a bit longer, despite the suffering, than, I think that's what you're saying, whereas England, one might shorten a bit of life in order to prevent suffering. That's the basic difference I think you're seeing between the English system and the Jew and halacha.
Yes,
right?
but that was just one point. That was just an opening, but that wasn't the point. The point is in a theological point of view, and that is, where does morality come from? How can we define morality? Now, of course, if you ask someone today with the basic or the how do you say the fundamentals of morality comes actually from the famous rabbi what Hillel says, you should love the neighbor as yourself. What you don't like for people to do to you, you don't do to yourself. How do I know? How do I create a system that has true morals? How do I know what is right and what is wrong? How do I know? So the whole world basically looks at it as what's right and what is wrong. Is what you don't want people to do to you, don't do to other people. Now that is very nice in general. Am I right? That is very nice in general. But even within the Torah, we don't say that at all times. We say that as a rule. Especially when you don't know what to do, then you should use that rules. But in the end, in order to know right or wrong of true morality, you have to have something superior, something that will know not just our time, not just the time of the Romans, of any other eras in history. We have to see the big picture in order to know what is right and what is wrong. And that brings us back to what we said before. In order to know true good and true bad, we have to see the big picture. And therefore, morality in its essence has to come from a bigger picture. Although, the democracy, yes, democracy is based on that each individual has a right for his own say, but nevertheless, there is also the balance between the society and the individual, and it's basically the freedom of the individual versus not hurting the social. That's basically what it is. But in the end, it won't help you to bring true morality in every case, in every scenario. And I think I don't need to go there, but if we just touch what happened with the Nazis and with the Germans and the social interaction, they were seen. If you look a few years before, and there's a big debate about how do we learn morals and could we learn morality from the Germans in the yeshiva of Rabbi Chanan Wasserman, which is in Slobodka. He was very against the Enlightenment movement in that time. And in the Enlightenment, of course, Haredim have many issues against the Enlightenment, but I'm talking about the Enlightenment were very much approving of the Germans in that time. They said, look at the Germans, we can learn from their morality. And there's a story about Reb Hutner, that they had this discussion in the Beis Medrash. Could we learn morality from the Germans? And they said there's a saying that the German, if you'll stop him in the street, he will say to you nicht wahr, which is this not so? Basically posing the question on you. I thought the question comes from the Jews, but he will say if someone he would ask politely, is this not? He will stop and say to you, oh, go to this direction. Is that not so? Did you understand? And so on. So nicht, is this not so? That was the symbol of politeness in the Germans. And the story goes on, and again, I'm bringing this story not to indicate that all systems are wrong, but just to pin out the point. Rab Hutner later on, of course, the war happened, the war broke out, and the Holocaust, and then later on, Rab Hutner met the same student of that he was in discussion before the war about are the Germans Enlightenment or not? Could we learn a morality from the Germans? And that person came to Rav Hutner and says, "Do you remember who I am?" So of course I remember. You are so and so. We had I said, "Do you remember that discussion?" Yes, of course I had the discussion. And he told that Rav Hutner, when the Germans cut off my hand in the concentration camp, do you know what they said? They said exactly the same words. Does it hurt? And said, nicht wahr, is it that so? Is it not so? Does it hurt? So pose the question of politeness within the evil, the evil act that they did. Meaning what? And why am I bringing this story? Because of course it could be very kitzoni, as we say, very extreme. It is extreme, and with the Nazis we know it was extreme. But it's just to tell you that it doesn't. No system in the world can give you a perfect morality if it doesn't put God into the picture. Because if it's all based, again, on human, how they see things, and the morality as you feel it, even if we use Hillel's statement, which is whatever happens to you, whatever you don't want a person to do to yourself, you shouldn't do to others. Some people have different likes and different different approach to things, and they will feel it is okay to do so.
Rabbi, in this, are you searching for a definition of morality which applies for all times and for all people?
Morality has to have a sense where it can come to, it can give you an answer to all times. And it could be that there's sometimes is killing okay or is killing not okay. So if you would ask someone is killing okay, they say, oh, murder is wrong. Of course, murder is wrong. But when? What scenario? And many people talk about today, not murder, but they talk about killing animals. Is killing animals wrong? Of course, killing animal is not wrong. But if you're killing it just to have an enjoyment of seeing it suffer, I don't know what, of killing it for fun, then it's wrong. You have to have that balance. But who gives you that balance? Some generations, like today, are talking about killing animals is wrong, and then they're missing the point because then the humans are suffering. So where is the balance? And only to have in order to have a true balance of morality, you have to have God into the picture, because without God, you don't know what is good and what is wrong. And this is the question which I'm posing this. But do you think that you can have true morality without being religious, without putting God into the picture? What do you think? Professor, what do you say?
Well, I always thought that morality is like you gave the reference from Hillel, do not do things to others that you don't want done to yourself. That's one thing. But the other thing is there's sort of something innate within us as well. It's often the way we're brought up, the way that we believe in God, and that we have to abide by an Almighty who's judging you in the end, all right? And that's one aspect. But there is also some sort of conflict, because I always think the judges, we were talking about judges making judgment. In Nazi Germany, they got rid of not just Jews, but they also got rid of what they regarded as misfits, people who had epilepsy, and they took away, these were Germans, took them away, and the law of the land said, yes, you can get rid of them. And I worked in a military hospital, which was previously run by, I'm afraid, the Nazis. This was out in West Germany, where this hospital, people from locals were afraid to go into that hospital because that's where the Nazis got rid of these children. And they were children, by the way. So they regarded that as their moral right to do it. And they used the word moral right, these judges, to decide that. Yeah. So the word is, it's a loose word, which is used for often convenience as well. So I don't like the word morality, all right? I'm always suspicious what they mean. There are plenty of examples throughout the world where they use judgments from the law of the land to do things that are terribly horrible, all right? And I mean, this goes on. And what is really sad is when they use religion for that. And I'm afraid that has been used against us Jews in Eastern Europe for countless generations now. You mentioned, by the way, the Slobodka Yeshiva. That's where my grandfather was educated, at the Slobodka Yeshiva. And the Slobodka Yeshiva is often referred to by the Haredis as like Oxford and Cambridge, but it wasn't like that. It was rather repressive. And they didn't encourage people to think from outside. My grandfather left that yeshiva. He was a teacher there, left it to come to United Kingdom. That was in 1890. So that has got a little black mark against it, I'm afraid.
Am I right in thinking that Slobodka was the mark of the Slobodka yeshiva was that it put a great emphasis on ethics and morality? Wasn't that the yeshiva which supposedly did that? Am I right, Rabbi?
Yes. It talked about Gadluta.
It was Musa, wasn't it? Musa.
But specifically, see, there was, let's say, Kelem and Slobodka. Kelem was more about oppressing, I don't know what Stanley's grandfather's experience, but I'm saying in general, the Kelem was more about, I don't know, thinking of yourself as you're nothing and going into the graveyards and, embarrassing yourself. And Slobodka was, as I said, Germans, you have to look mechubad, you have to look nice, you're nice shaved, you cannot have anything on it. And that morality, you're son of Hashem, that type of morality, of ethics gave you the encouragement to be better in Judaism. It was a different style, but yes, it was the pinnacle of the yeshivot in that time. And you have to have discussions and different discussions and debates. And one of the debates, as I said, was how do we learn? Where do we learn morality from? Should we learn morality from the German? And the point was that in the end, even if you have the best system, if it doesn't have something that is not bias, because every generation will be biased into their frame. Today, you have to be a Black Lives Matter and against eating animals and whatever it is that it is because they decide. Yes, Melvin.
Rabbi, I could ask you a question. Apologies that I was late. One of those annoying, had to reboot the computer. So I came in at the end of a discussion about a medical issue, and I can hear that we're talking about morality. And I wonder, Rabbi, what the Jewish view is of the do not resuscitate orders that, somebody can say that they don't wish to be resuscitated if they have a heart attack or whatever. Well, what's the view on that?
The Jewish... you have to understand, life in the Jewish eyes is totally different than a non-Jewish eyes. We see life as a mission. We see life here to come to do God's will. A small period of time, but a massive reward in the future. So for the best of the interest of the individual is to be in this world alive. Now, we talked about it last time. Remember, we talked about if you were a second before you die, you were in the right... you did right, then you continue to do it. But anyway, that is how we see morality. If a person is alive in this world, we say thank you Hashem that we have a breather now, we can breathe and we can live. That itself is doing Hashem's fulfillment in this world. We're not here to enjoy life. Not at all. If Hashem gives us enjoy, we have to say thank you. But that is not our mission. Whereas the world sees this life as, enjoy as much as you can.
So in this situation of do not resuscitate, what is the view?
Listen, it all depends on the situation. Sometimes the rabbi permits not to do anything and to let it live or die as it is. That's all. To kill in the act of killing, of course, no one would say to send to Switzerland. But most of the times, we will live, we will make sure that they're alive and so on, to give them life support as much as we can. And more so, we believe in science, meaning maybe there'll be a new medicine coming, and then hopefully in a few months or whatever, there's going to be a new cure, and then it'll come back again in life. And it happened throughout history on many different levels. So more than that, it's not only we think that we should live like that, maybe there's going to be hope. Who are us to stop him maybe to live in the future? About pain and suffering, then that's already, someone is not conscious enough, you have to seduce him, whatever you can. But we will fight as much as we can, even 1%, to go to the end of the world to bring a person life. But the idea of morality, again, is why do we have morality? What is the reason? Why should I not kill my fellow friend? Why should I preserve? Because it's about preserving. The reason, if you ask a non-Jew or whatever, the secular system, they say the reason why I shouldn't kill another person is to preserve in the end myself. Because if I'm going to kill you, then you're going to kill me, then I won't be alive. In Judaism, I'm not going to kill you, not because I want to stay alive, because I'm not allowed to kill you, because God said I'm not allowed to kill you. You have a third party. It's a big difference. It's a big difference. And you have to put God into the picture to bring morality. You cannot have morality without God. And there's many stories that we can see. And the famous story is about, I always say about the tzedakah, giving a charity to a person. How do I know what to give and how, what is the consequences? You see someone asking for tzedakah in the corner of the street, right? You give him a 5 pounds, right? How do you know if he's going to use it for the good or for the bad? You don't know. Maybe he's going to use it for drugs. Maybe he's going to kill himself. Maybe we never know the end game. We're always limited to what we see. So if you don't believe in God, you say, "Oh, we're trying to do our best. We're trying to do," but in the end, you're biased. You're always going to look for yourself. And the big,